hours, so hope you have your coffee.
Oh, cool. I see the little live there. That's awesome.
Hang Out on Air is live. Welcome, everybody. And thank you so much for your patience. Sometimes Google and technology can play tricks, and today it played some tricks, and so we're getting started here. And I'm really grateful and excited to get to share the individual who's on this hangout with us tonight. I've had the good pleasure of getting to know her husband, and their business model that they've been operating for the past several years, which deals with people taking a preventative path to their own wellness. They're all about personal responsibility. They're all about educating individuals to understand the truth about their bodies, find out what's going on, and then take that into their own hands and heal themselves and look and feel their best, optimize the way they think. And Dr. Tammy has just been a remarkable individual within the wellness arena. She is a celebrity doctor, and so that's always fun. And she's actually, taken those steps to put herself out there and speak to the masses about things that the traditional medical realm is not too excited about. And so with that, what I'd like to do is turn this hangout over to Dr. Tammy, have her share a little bit about her background and why she's so passionate about sharing the wellness information that she's got. Dr. Tammy, take it away.
Thank you, Troy. So nice to be here. It's kind of funny you mentioned that that's not well received out there. I just saw on BuzzFeed this past week that there's a bunch of doctors who are disappearing and being murdered for speaking out on wellness. That's a little scary. But, it's so true. It's such an important thing that needs to get out there. And there's so much fear around health and wellness anyway. And there's so much myth and miscommunication that I think it's really important that those of us who walk the walk and live the life can share that information.
I agree. Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. And I hope that this particular presentation isn't what is the end of you. It's interesting how those naturopaths, that ironically, they just had like the FDA investigate them within the past 60 days and they all commit suicide. Speak the truth and you might be in trouble. So what I'd love to do is keep you alive, keep you safe.
Oh, thank you.
And also what I'd like to do is go ahead and really just dive into your passion and this presentation that you share all over the country that is really creating a grassroots movement for individuals, just families, good friends getting together and talking about this stuff and paying it forward, so to speak. And you're really at the forefront of that. And so this presentation is really appropriate for what we're doing within the community here in Boise, as well with the clients I work with all over the country. And just having seen you share your information, your hormone balancing, detoxification, I'm just excited to have you live here go through it. So can we go ahead and jump into your presentation?
Absolutely. That'd be great.
All right. Well, why don't we do this? You just let me know when it's time to go to the next slide and we'll make sure that that's taken care of, okay?
Okay. So just to give people a little background on me, I'm a board certified family physician and pretty much did traditional medicine and got really burned out on that. And my own health has suffered pretty much my whole life. I am a natural born caretaker, I think, and I've had hormone problems, any female hormone problem that you can name, literally. I've had endometriosis, infertility, PCOS, and it ended up in a hysterectomy. And going on synthetic hormones, I gained a lot of weight. And I remember just being so frustrated, and there's just really no answers out there. So I had to get outside the box to really start helping people understand hormones. And then the more I learned, the more frustrated I got, the more angry I got. And I thought, why don't they teach you this stuff in medical school? And it's just been a progression to help empower people, because there's so much frustration out there about hormones and health and wellness, and you don't know who to trust. And the pharmaceutical companies seem to drive the industry, and we just get stuck in more and more medicines, and it's really sad. And I'm not knocking doctors, and my disclaimer is don't stop any medications, hearing this presentation tonight, because they're probably maintaining some physiology for you. But at some point you have to stop the madness, and the pharmaceutical companies have just really done a number on us.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's wild how deeply entrenched people's belief in their doctors has become, and it was by design, right? I mean, it was just the way we've all been taught. So,
oh, absolutely. Everything I've pretty much learned about functional medicine, I've learned from naturopaths and from chiropractors, and people who don't have access to that prescription pad. And those are the same people who are not marketed to by the pharmaceutical companies. I can remember when I was in residency, the excesses were huge with the pharmaceutical companies. They were buying people Rolex watches and taking them on cruises, and just it was crazy, the excess, and how they really bought the doctor. So it's not the doctor's fault, it's just the culture. And then the insurance companies are happy to kind of keep everybody on the chain too, and so doctors have to see lots of patients to pay the bills, and all you have time to do is write prescriptions. So it's a very broken system.
Well, I'm excited to dive into your presentation. Shall we go ahead and get started?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, here is, there you are. Is this coming across for you okay on that end?
Oh, I can see it fine. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, great.
Got this technology going. So I think one of the biggest frustrations that people have is, when you go to the doctor, you're told, well, you're just getting older, or just deal with it. Women are told, just that's part of aging or having babies, and you just have to kind of deal with it. And when you asked me to be on this interview tonight, you mentioned detox. So I definitely want to address that. And that's a huge part of what I do. But I constantly tell people that aging is just a product of toxins in your body and your hormones getting out of balance. And I love this slide because Ernestine Shepherd is 76 years old, and she didn't even start really exercising until she was in her 60s. And clearly, she's able to maximize her body. I just Googled 70-year-old bodybuilder for the guy there, because I just wanted to show people that once you stop making excuses for how you want your life to look, you can pretty much design your life, design your body. When you get tired of feeling fat and frumpy, you have to make that decision to get outside the box and stop making excuses, and stop letting doctors tell you, well, you're just getting older, or our culture just say it's just part of the aging process. The other picture here is a friend of mine, Michelle Berger, and she's you can Google her, but she's a competition bikini model, and those are her 4 children. She had 2 sets of twins and a C-section, and her doctor told her that she would never have abs, ever. And so clearly she proved them wrong. And actually, she's a patient of mine, and we've kind of helped each other, and she put me through some training, and I never had a 6-pack until I met Michelle. So it's been absolutely amazing, and I'm almost 50 years old. So to have a 6-pack at 50, I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, you should be. That's cool. Will Brian be okay if you show? No, I'm kidding.
Share my abs.
Sorry, Brian.
I won't do that tonight because I have a one-piece dress on, but maybe in the future I'll send you a picture.
That's awesome. We'll put it up on the website.
Yeah. So, when people talk about detox, and that was kind of the main topic that we were going to discuss tonight, I think all sorts of things come to mind. People start thinking you're going to have to starve yourself. You're going to have to drink nothing but juice or cabbage soup, or you're going to have to take a bunch of laxatives. And that's really not what detox is to me. In fact, in our program and working with our patients, detox is more of what I like to think of as a reboot. And so rebooting the system and getting things cleared out is really what detox is about. And so to me, juicing is great, and it's healthy and nutritious, but you need extra nutrition through the detox phase, not to starve yourself. And there are actually some studies that show that calorie restriction can increase the length of telomeres and decrease the aging process. So I'm not saying that some calorie restriction is not a good thing, but during detox, you actually want to eat more healthy organic foods during detox when you're trying to use nutrients and supplements and things like that to help clear different toxins. So I think that kind of detox gets a little bit of a bad rap. People think you're going to be miserable, you're going to be hungry. And so, it gets a little bit daunting for people to think about a detox.
Well, as you mentioned telomeres, and I know that's a long conversation right there. Can you kind of I know that you are really immersed in the science behind this. Can you discuss just a little bit about what telomeres are and the new science behind it, and why people should be very, very excited about what's happening?
Well, it's the fountain of youth. Your telomeres are the part of your DNA that control aging. And so if you can lengthen those, you can lengthen your lifespan. There's been a ton of studies on resveratrol, which is the agent in red wine. Unfortunately, you'd have to drink probably cases of red wine to get enough resveratrol to actually have the effect on the telomeres that we're going for. And the ethanol would probably poison your liver far before the resveratrol would actually help you. But they are working on some concentrated forms of resveratrol, and that is one of the things that I recommend in my patients during detox, because it is a great antioxidant. And it has so many properties for helping the DNA heal and with the immune system. So that's one thing. Calorie restriction as well has shown to lengthen telomeres. And there's a lot of other supplements and things out there that help with antioxidants and, foods that have high ORAC scores and things like that. So all of those can help. The studies on mice with calorie restriction are very interesting, and there's sort of an emerging science with intermittent fasting that's very fascinating to me. And in fact, most of the time I tell my patients not to eat at least carbohydrates until noon, and so we sort of integrate a little bit of daily intermittent fasting with our program when that's appropriate with patients as well. But, this age of portion distortion where we eat, literally one day I figured out how many calories if you go to, say, Olive Garden and have lasagna, salad, breadsticks, glass of wine, and a piece of cheesecake. It can be 5,000 to 7,000 calories easily in one meal. And, as most people know, if you're trying to female maintaining her weight, usually anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 calories a day. So, we are just a calorie-ridden environment.
So that is huge that you say that. Like literally, pun intended, huge. That people, just the way people eat today, food is so abundant and around us. And you talk about intermittent fasting. It's one of the things that we really cover within our coaching program and our conversations is why that's so important. And a lot of people don't really think about the fact that maybe Paleolithic or even just a few generations ago, individuals didn't have fast food or just drive through and stuff something in their face. Mm-hmm. And so their digestive system was not working constantly. And it also they didn't have all the toxins and processed foods that the body had to process. And intermittent fasting has been really fascinating because as I personally do that, depending on where I'm at with my training, when I do an intermittent fast, I start eating at 2 p.m. and then I stop eating at 8 p.m. And the reason, and you can even go into this, I'd love to hear your take on this. It gives my digestive system all that time to just shut down, because our digestive system takes a tremendous amount of energy to digest food. And most people are digesting food constantly. So they're constantly expending energy to process these mostly toxic foods. And I've been blown away at how my energy levels have gone through the roof. And this is when I first started. And then also just the ability to burn so much fat. Is that what you're experiencing too with your intermittent fasting, the people you put on that protocol?
Absolutely. And part of the problem is that the food that most people are eating when they're grazing all day long, there is some evidence that there's a hormone called leptin that helps with, weight loss. And if you get resistant to leptin because you do too much stressful fasting, you can have some issues with that. But I think with the grazing that people do all day long, they're usually eating high carbohydrate foods because they get up first thing in the morning, they eat a donut and a soda or coffee with tons of sugar in it, and then their insulin level peaks, and then their blood sugar drops, and then 20 minutes later they're crashing and they're chasing that carbohydrate again, and so they're constantly doing that all day. So I think that's very stressful, and it causes those cortisol peaks much more than you normally would have throughout the day. And so cortisol, of course, is very stressful, and it causes the redistribution of belly fat, which nobody really likes either. So that's in of itself a problem with kind of grazing all day long, but we sort of set ourselves up for that. And when you mention to people about intermittent fasting, or like a lot of the trainers and bodybuilders do, like you're describing, from like the 2 to 6 window or 2 to 8 window, that's really overwhelming to them. And then some of them will come back and even say, well, my doctor says I have to eat breakfast. And that's really just scary to them, because they think, they know they're going to crash, and they know they have to have that sugar fix.
So amazing. And that is, and then, I know that you and Brian and your crew work with like the high fats. I know that, and we can kind of go into that possibly through your program, but that's the thing, is there's no hunger when I'm drinking a bulletproof coffee with 4 tablespoons of grass-fed butter and just a ton of coconut oil, or MCT, which is pure fat, but it's a medium chain triglyceride. So it's burned purely as energy and doesn't stay on the body. Are you seeing that too?
Yeah, I did a great interview with Dave from Bulletproof Coffee, and it was very enlightening. And that's been about 1.5 years ago. And we do the bulletproof, diet and the intermittent fasting with the MCT oil, and absolutely love it. People think it's crazy that, we would wake up and drink coffee with half a stick of butter in it and MCT oil. And, it's like, what? But it really fuels the brain. And your cholesterol is your source hormone, or it is a hormone actually. Cholesterol is the root hormone for making your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone. So if you're going to have healthy, youthful levels of your sex steroid hormones, you have to have that. And not to go knocking the docs again that, write all these prescriptions, but the first thing they want to do when you go get a physical is put you on cholesterol medication, even if it's just like borderline high, because there's so much fear out there about fat. And, they've done studies to show that all of our major heart disease and strokes and all these things that have cropped up in the last 40 years have been since the low fat guidelines. So we got way off track. And I'm a common sense girl. I mean, it makes sense to me that if you eat fat, you'll get fat, but that's not the way it works. It's just simply not.
That's cool. It's cool to hear your validation. And with this detoxification, since you spoke with Dave Asprey, this is where a lot of my clients will be like, okay, brother, I was with you until this. And it's like Dave promotes the bulletproof coffee enema because of the detoxification effects of it. And I don't know if you prescribe that to your clients, but I tell you what, that's been a complete game changer for anybody on our side who's had inflammation, who just feels lethargic, has brain fog. You get them to take that step and actually do a coffee enema, and they come back, they're high-fiving me. So
yeah, Dave is very revolutionary in what he has come up with, and I still kind of do my own kind of take on things. I love to exercise, and he doesn't really promote exercise. He says that walking's not exercise, and I think we just kind of agree to disagree on those kinds of things, because I love walking as fitness for myself. So I think everyone has to find their groove. Everyone has to find what feels good to them. Everyone has to use just some common sense and some discernment with what their path is going to be. And the best thing you can do is find a coach such as yourself, Troy, that works with people, that can hold their hand through a process that's individualized, because one size does not fit all. And that's one of the things that the pharmaceutical companies has tried to make us think, that there's just one pill or one magic fix or one size fits all. And that's just not the case. And so, I've had patients that the bulletproof program and intermittent fasting works great for, and I've had some people that it didn't work at all for. And then we have to kind of start digging around and look for other solutions and things. So I think consistently what I tell people is, we call it the 5 pillars. It's hormones, detox, nutrition, fitness, and supplementation. And when you have all of those, that works 99% of the time. In fact, if people are really showing up to the game, it never not works. So that's what I stick to. Some of the little bit kind of more outside the box things, if that's what people want to do, I support them completely. And if it's working for them, and if it's not causing harm, I think at the end of the day, that's the best thing. Whatever's right for you.
I love that philosophy, because you're again handing it back to people, saying, hey, look, this is your responsibility. Every body is different and going to respond differently to different things, and so good on you. I think that's wonderful.
It's empowerment for sure. And I usually tell people, when I work with my coaching clients or patients, I make them commit to 3, 6, or 9 months, because they didn't get that way overnight. Or if they're just trying to just enhance their biology, that's great. But if they're sick and they have issues, I say one size does not fit all, and it's going to take us a little time to undo this. And that's, when we work together, we explore different processes, because sometimes you hit it the first time and sometimes you don't. And that can be a little frustrating for people, but they have to really commit to the process, the journey.
That's cool. And I know that you have created a really great culture and a community that makes it really easy for people to stick with it. So good on you.
Yeah.
So what the heck is detoxification?
Exactly. When there are many different kinds of detoxification. Of course, the nerd, scientist, doctor in me, when I think detoxification, my mind goes straight to the liver. The liver is the main organ that filters and clears. So we want a healthy liver. And there are 2 different phases of detoxification. We call it phase 1, phase 2, that the liver does. So you really have to enhance that. And I would love to tell people that you don't have to take supplements. And in fact, I think I was probably one of those doctors at one point, when I was shelving out all those pharmaceuticals, that said, oh yeah, you don't need vitamins or supplements or whatever. But the truth is, we need vitamins to make every process in our body run. And we just don't get enough vitamins and minerals from our food supply. The food supply has changed so much over the past 30, 40 years that even if you ate literally nothing but green leafy vegetables and, high protein, that you still wouldn't get all the minerals and vitamins that you need. So supplementation is very important. And there's very specific supplementation that I recommend to my patients when they're going through the detoxification process. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go on. But for most people, when they ask, why would I want to do a detox? The things that come to mind are literally, you're sick and tired. And those are the people that come to me and are absolutely exhausted, overweight. And I'm not about weight loss per se, or being a weight loss program. I think weight loss is a side effect of being healthy. But if you have fibromyalgia, joint pain, if you're just you feel physically like you are just crashing every day, I think that's time to consider a detox. And to do it in a very specific, guided way is really important. And again, the misconceptions and the cautions are just those kind of crazy things out there that you'll see, that's just a lot of laxatives like senna and things like that, that are basically just making you poop your guts out, or just juicing consistently, because juicing is great, but juicing just doesn't supply everything that you need for good detoxification in the liver.
And that's one of the most popular things that people are doing right now, right? Is they're getting a Jack LaLanne and they're firing it up, and they're doing a lot of juicing, but they're still missing a lot, because like go ahead.
Yeah. And I think there's so much benefit to that. The Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead movement is great. And there's no doubt that those people have really turned their health around and done a lot. And I think those people have educated themselves, and they are taking supplements, and they are doing sometimes more than just juicing. But in my opinion, juicing is great, and it provides a lot of nutrients. But there's some things that I think that people need to know about, maybe their genetics or their hormones, in conjunction with just juicing and different supplements that you just can't get enough of just from juicing.
Awesome. Awesome. And I know that you're going to cover a little bit about what you do with your clients as far as how to find those baselines for each individual.
Absolutely.
All right.
So when we talk about detoxification, basically we're trying to eliminate accumulated toxins. Our body is detoxing every second of the day. So, you know, when people say I'm going to do a detox, it's kind of funny. It's kind of a misnomer because you're detoxing every second that you're breathing and your blood is circulating. You know, when we talk about detoxification, we're talking about making a concentrated effort to decrease the toxins coming in and to help clear the toxins to go out. And so, you know, there's definitely something to be said for eating organic and the Dirty Dozen and, you know, watching your fruit and your vegetables, things like that. But in that detoxification process, it's not going to do you any good to sweep your porch in a tornado. So, you know, and by that, I just mean you got to stop the influx of the toxins to really be able to clear them going out. So you can't eat McDonald's and you can't be eating a lot of junk food if you're making a concentrated 21-day detox effort.
You know, you say that, I chuckle because I've got to remember back, it was about 8 years ago that, you know, I was making pretty consistent trips to the fast food joints, man. You know, I was being a little bit picky about it, but and when I really got clear about how often a person should go through a fast food joint, there is no should. If you're going through one, and I heard somebody say, I forget which documentary it was, because I geeked out on all the documentaries like a lot of people have. And it's like, look, if you're going through more than once a month, you're messing up. And it was a big change for me when we were dropping off bags of burgers and bringing home pizzas for our kids back when the economy was booming, because, hey, we were earning money, being good moms and dads. And when the economy did what it did, it kind of stopped. We were left with the realization that we had missed it. For about a 3 to 4 year window, we had put all this stuff in our children's bodies. We didn't spend present time with them. And that's when things really shifted for us as a 2007, 2008. And I wanted to recapture and regain that time with my family. And the way we did that was we started grocery shopping. We started preparing meals with one another and sitting around a dinner table. And it was a complete game changer because we had relationship with our kids. We knew what was happening. And we weren't constantly putting just poisonous food, frankly, poisonous food into our bodies. So we felt better. Complete game changer. So I love what you're saying about that. If you're going to detoxify, you really got to look at the Red Bulls, the Monster Energy drinks, you know, the sugar-laden coffees, and the fast food, because that's toxic stuff. It just is.
And the good news is while you're detoxing, you feel so much better that you don't crave those things, because most people get really scared and they think, oh my gosh, I couldn't get through one day without a Red Bull, or I couldn't, you know, 5-hour energy. And it's like, yeah, but once your body starts clearing out those toxins, you don't keep going anymore. So, and you know, I think it's true that, you know, you have to have good support and coaching during the detox process, because, you know, things will crop up like headaches and, you know, the first day or two, sometimes people do feel worse and having withdrawals and things like that. But if you have the right supplementation, you can head off most of that stuff. You know, another thing about McDonald's or about fast food is very interesting is somebody told me one time that the way they make it smell consistently, all the food in all those different restaurants, is they actually use something called food perfume to make the food all smell consistently the same when you go into those different restaurants. So, I mean, if for no other reason, if you think that you're going to McDonald's and you're going to just eat the meat without the bun because you're not going to have the carbs, or, you know, maybe you're just going to have the fries because now they say they cook it in peanut oil or whatever, and so it's potato, right? I mean, you just think about the chemical they're putting on their food perfume. I mean, what kind of chemical is that? I mean, you know, you can't get, you know, any more toxic than food perfume. So, you know, you got to think about that. And when you think about, I don't know if you've ever had a McDonald's French fry like fall down in the, like in between the seats of your car. My son and I are pretty messy, and so like the times we've done that, Like a year later, literally, when you're vacuuming your car, it's still a McDonald's French fry. It's crazy.
It has no green fuzz. It looks tasty.
No, it's not, you know, it's not disintegrated or nothing. It's crazy. And so, you know, you got to think about that.
Well, and that's the thing that in the education process is that, you know, it's not about making anyone wrong. It's about educating people. And what a lot of folks don't realize is that food manufacturers, potato chip, people who make potato chips, they have social psychologists. They wire up a person's brain, and when they take a bite of a chip, they see what lights up. And they make sure that they are putting things into their potato chips that will shut down the part of your brain that says, I'm hungry, stop eating, and makes you crave more. Yeah. That's not somebody who is out for your highest and best good. That's somebody who's out for a profit. And I think it's really important that people understand that even though they've got some really good, fun commercials, they're not our friends. They're out for a profit in the bottom line. And they don't care about us. They don't care about us at all.
Yeah, it's so true. Troy, I think you're setting me up to be one of those disappearing doctors. We better stop while we're ahead.
Oh, you only have okay, well, so we'll go to the next slide. You know, everybody takes their Lipitor and their antidepressants this evening before bed.
You know, it's kind of funny because I shouldn't joke about that. My dad was an inventor. He invented the first remote control car starter, and he actually had thugs come in the middle of the night to try to steal that from him. So it's you know, it's real stuff out there that, you know, people don't like what we're saying. People don't like the truth. And, you know, so, but, you know, we're pioneers and we have to do it. And so I think it's so important to empower people and for people to hear this message. So I'm not scared. Bring it on, whatever. But
I like you more and more, Dr. Tammy. You know, and with that said, you know, a lot of people with this pharmacology, people don't realize that, again, when it's money-based, money-motivated, and you can look this up. If you can find the book, you're going to pay a lot of money for it. It's called The Drug Story. And it describes and lays out how the Rockefellers went out and they bought up all the pharmaceutical companies. And because pharmaceuticals, like paint, like everything, has petroleum in it, and they went to all the major universities and said, look, we're going to give you a new library. We're going to stock that library with amazing books, and we're going to build a new wing into your university. But all you're going to teach is allopathic medicine. All you're going to teach is about pharmacology, and you're going to stop talking about what Hippocrates talked about, which is let food be thy medicine. Yeah. And that's where it all began.
It is, yeah. You know, it's so true. And I was conditioned that way when I was in medical school and I was getting overwhelmed. I actually had a professor say, Tammy, don't worry, just memorize it for a test. You'll learn 10, 15 medications, and that'll be all you have to know, and you'll make a good living. And that was the answer. You know, just you're going to learn 10 drugs, and that's all you got to know, and you'll be fine. Yeah, that's okay.
So I've heard, and I've never asked this question of, that I've heard that there's only like a week to 2 weeks of nutrition taught when you're going through medical school. Is that accurate? Is that true?
I don't even know that, you know, we really even got that. I mean, it's really sad. Yeah.
Are you hearing that, people? This is a doctor.
Yeah, no, it was all just learn the drugs. I mean, even the physiology was really just, you know, kind of glazed over. So yeah, it's really true. I mean, I got like maybe a little bit of nutrition, and it's all based on, you know, pretty much kind of outdated information, food pyramid, and, you know, low fat. And, you know, I mean, it's like, you know, what your nutritionist tells you. I have patients all the time tell me, you know, they've spent good money going to a nutritionist. Maybe they've got diabetes or whatever, you know, and they really didn't get good information. So that's why I think it's so important, the work that we're doing and getting out there, because when we work with people and coach them, we give them real information that's real physiology.
I love it. It's amazing stuff. And I'm grateful. Hey, I've got a friend and a client, Demetrios, and we've been working through some of the detoxification processes. And he's like a lot of us. He's, you know, had an American diet, and he's working with the process of eliminating certain things and including more nutritious foods into his diet. But one of the things that he's experiencing is being sick, feeling lethargic through the detox process. Can you kind of explain what's going on and some things that he can do to minimize that or get through it faster?
Well, some of the process is just withdrawal from some of the chemicals. Some of it's caffeine withdrawal if they're on a lot of caffeine, and so they'll feel a little bit tired. And that's why I tell people to wean off caffeine slowly up until the time when they start a detox. Don't go cold turkey because it's just going to be awful. Same thing with sugar, just to kind of start slowly weaning down the sugar as well. Just going in, just balls to the wall in a detox is pretty harsh. Part of the process, especially if, and here on the slide, as you can see, part of the process with a good detox is you're going to clear heavy metals, you're going to clear parasites, and you're going to clear viruses and possibly even bacteria. The immune system's revving up. And whenever those bugs basically are dying through the process because you're cutting off what they need, which is usually the sugar or the toxins that they're feeding on, there's something called a Jerich's-Hersheimer reaction. Was first discovered with treating syphilis patients with penicillin, and they got terribly ill, flu-like syndrome, things like that. So one of the best things is just to educate people that it's a part of the process. And unfortunately, the alternative is, that your body is going to suffer and it's going to age and it's going to get more and more toxic, and you're going to accumulate more toxins as time goes on. So sometimes, unfortunately, it is a little bit of, you got to suck it up just a little bit. But sometimes just telling them that that's a natural part of the process is all they need, and they can just kind of, get through it. Also, starting a detox on a Monday is a really good idea, because usually it's about day 5 to 6 that usually hits people pretty hard. And then you have the weekend to sort of rest and recover. A lot of people are trying to work, and it's just magnified because they have the stress of work and things going on and the pressures and things like that. So preparation is very important when you're really committing to clearing bad stuff out of your diet and committing to clearing some of these toxins out.
Good coaching. That's really good coaching. One thing that I'd like to share here is when my doctor, Dr. Hockey here in Boise, I felt great. He'd helped moderate my hormone or get my hormones balanced, and I felt strong. I felt as good as I've ever felt because I balanced my hormones and I was eating clean. But I said, Doc, I haven't had abs since like ever. I want to have abs, and this is a few years ago. And he had me read the book Wheat Belly, which frankly, if anybody hasn't read it, when you do, be prepared to be upset because we've been lied to.
Yes.
And I stopped eating wheat. And 3 weeks later, I didn't crave wheat. The first couple of weeks, I thought I was going to go insane. And sure enough, my cheeks weren't puffy anymore. My eyes didn't look like little frog eyes. And I had abs. And I have a good friend who is a pharmacist. And this is an individual who had actually had some dependencies on opiates, like severe dependencies, and worked through. He went on the Wheat Belly diet. He stopped eating wheat and sugar. He called me about 2 weeks in. He's like, dude, what's going on? He says, this feels worse than coming off of opiates. It's like coming off of heroin. Mm-hmm. Coming off of wheat is harder than coming off of heroin. What's up with that? And sure enough, he got through it, and he's never gone back ever. He's one of those super disciplined guys, but that's pretty profound when wheat will give you the reaction and the symptoms of coming off of a drug like heroin.
Oh yeah, and there's so much. We could do a whole conversation, and we can do that sometime if you want to, on gluten and genetically modified foods. Basically, they genetically modified the food so that it wouldn't react to the pesticides. And so now we have, issues with gluten being just so rampant. Now we're seeing all these food sensitivities and all these issues, and they kind of have their own sets of issues in what they do. But absolutely clearing wheat and gluten out of the diet is really important, especially with autoimmune disease, people who have allergies or anything else like that. It's huge. It's really important. Thyroid, I see a ton of women with thyroid disorder, and they're told by their doctors they're going to have to be on thyroid the rest of their life. And, we get them off gluten, and they are able to get off their thyroid medication. So, yeah, Wheat Belly is a great book. Grain Brain is a great book, too. I don't know if you've read that one, but...
yeah, I've got it on my desk right here. If I was still being filmed, you could see it. again, it's one of those books that it really is, it upsets you to read it. It's like, I've got a mother who's got the equivalent of a Buick in her back. She's got titanium rods. She had scoliosis. This is a woman who was vibrant, and she has been on this pharmacological cocktail, and she's now on over 9 pharmaceuticals. And it's sad to see this. And it's not just from the pharmaceuticals. It's again, the way that she's eating, the brain fog that she's got is exacerbated by, the cascading effect of the side effects of the pharmaceuticals. And so when we've got these people that we love in our life, and let's just put my mother, over here for a second. Let's look at our children who are getting put on ADD medication. They're being put on Ritalin, when in so many cases, if they would just stop giving them Cocoa Puffs for breakfast and wean them off of these wheats and gluten, right?
Yeah.
And that's just a fact. So
yeah, it's so true. So true. The dyes. My son is on the autistic spectrum, and we took him off the red dyes, complete behavioral change. It's just amazing. We did food sensitivities, and we have him on methylfolate. That's a whole nother talk we can do another day if you want to as well. But there are so many things that can make such a big difference for these kids on the spectrum and kids with ADD and all sorts of behavioral issues. It's just amazing that people just don't know. And when you get on those stimulants, that Ritalin and all that stuff, it just wipes out the adrenal glands. And so you're setting people up for being sick their whole life. I mean, everybody's scared you're going to turn them into drug addicts. That's the least of my worries. I'm just afraid you're going to wipe out their adrenals and you're going to make them sick and tired and toxic the rest of their life.
And dependent, which is highly profitable, right?
Exactly. Yeah. We'll go back to that again.
Let's see. This is a fascinating slide. Holy cow.
I love this. I love to show this in seminars because people are always, we always think belly fat is bad. And, it is. It's not attractive. We don't like it. But it's so interesting that I used to have patients who were morbidly obese, who had normal blood pressures, who had no definable heart disease, no kidney disease. Their livers were fine for all intents and purposes. And I'm like, how can this person be morbidly obese for most of their life and not be sick? And the reason is because belly fat is protective. And belly fat is actually upregulated by the hormone cortisol in response to toxic burden, because what it does is that fat upregulates there to pull the toxins away from the internal organs so that you don't get high blood pressure, so you don't get heart disease. And it's protective, but it's only protective for a while, and eventually it will catch up with people, because eventually obesity does start to reflect disease. And so that belly fat, if you have it, is actually the design of our bodies to protect us. And so if you have it, it means that you are incredibly toxic. So I don't judge people when they're, they've got a lot of belly fat. I look at them and I think they're incredibly toxic, and they probably just don't know any better. And that's an opportunity for us to educate people and empower them to really do something different.
I love that. I love that, empowering people, giving them new information. And this is stuff that I know that you're constantly learning, and which is so awesome. And for individuals, this is something that if you just pick up the book Grain Brain, and within like our coaching program, we have a book club, a movie club, watch The Beautiful Truth, watch Forks Over Knives, watch The Perfect Human Diet, and take this information for yourself and get to know your body. And start trying these different things. Some people may become vegan. They might go with the China study, which is, fabulous if it works for you. Some people like myself, I like paleo. I like to eat meat, and it's just about finding that. And when folks are in this conversation, even if you make mistakes in the wellness space, they're going to be pretty good mistakes.
Yeah, I call it the 80-20 rule. And, I don't want my son to totally think I'm just this total nutrition freak and that we never have any fun. I mean, we go to McDonald's, I'm not trying to paint myself to be any kind of perfect, saint, mom, healthy, but when you do detox on a regular basis, and when you do take supplementation, and when you do have your hormones balanced, you can take a little toxic burden on, and you can still live life. I still, have a piece of birthday cake if I go, to a friend's birthday party or something. And I am, I'm 5'11". I'm 130 pounds, and I just don't worry about, that kind of 20%. I don't eat ding dongs and Pepsi and Doritos on a regular basis, but I eat mostly healthy, but I do these other things to kind of take care of the back end and keep myself healthy. So, it's not about total deprivation, and you don't have to be that total guru master health freak either. I think we might be intimidating a few people out there thinking, oh gosh, they're so perfect, and I'm sure they do everything just right.
I'm glad you said that, because I was absolutely that guy that was just, people would cringe. Family members would cringe when they would see me come to family get-togethers, because it's like, I can't eat that. And what a jackass, frankly. I had to look at that, and this is about wellness, the whole thing. And to be able to show up at a family get-together and have some macaroni salad or some birthday cake, that's part of living, right? When the majority of my life is consistently around a baseline of wellness, we get to go have us some pizza now and then, right?
That's right. Absolutely. And you're just going to scare off your patients and your clients if you come at them with this, rah, you got to do everything perfect. And unfortunately, some of the coaches in our program are very zealous, but I warn people when we start working with them that I hire them because they're zealous, and I hire them because they're very passionate and they really walk the walk. You wouldn't want somebody who's really kind of wishy-washy, flaky, and not really going to be able to direct you. So, but it really is about balance. It's about living your life, and for the most part, doing all these things on the back end so that you can, enjoy life a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing and again, why is this important? Is when you look at statistics stating that within the next 10 to 15 years, 50% of kids will be diagnosed with slight autism or more critical. Those types of statistics are ridiculous. These are things that they literally did not exist, 50 years ago. Why are they showing up today? Why is there fluoride in our water? Why are they putting things in our food that is outlawed in France? And why is it okay? Why is it that we can now no longer, Monsanto doesn't have to label whether their product are GMO or not? I mean, those are things that are happening that matter. And rather than going out and fighting the man, it's much more fun, and it's a much better energy just to create these grassroots movements in our own community, to start with ourselves and our families. And don't worry about what's going on out there. Just take responsibility and ask the questions, that need to be asked.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Ask those questions. I mean, we get so disempowered, and I think our medical doctors have been trained to, keep people not asking questions and just, overwhelmed, and, don't bring those lists of questions, and heaven forbid, don't look up anything on the internet, and don't watch those documentaries, and don't, don't stress me out asking me all those questions, because they just don't know what to do with it. So yeah.
Truly. Well, can you tell me where we are with these slides, where you'd like me to move to, stay on this one or move forward a little bit?
I think that's a good point. When we talk about detox, and this is a little bit of nerdy science, but of course my mind always goes to the liver and the 2 phases. And so the supplementation is very important, that you're covered with those 2 phases. And, we can help you more specifically, as coaches, what supplements that you need to take. The kidney and the GI, of course. Heavy metal excretion. There's a protein called butcher that, metallothionein. And it basically helps clear heavy metals like mercury and amalgams and things like that people have from fillings or from exposures to paint and things like that. And then also just, the supplements and things that help clear parasites. There's been a lot of in the news about SIBO, small intestinal bowel overgrowth. That's bacteria that's normally supposed to be in your large intestine that's sort of overgrown into your small intestines. And yeast is a huge problem. And most of the yeast problem that we have is just that imbalance between the bacteria and the yeast from too much sugar in our diet. So covering all of these phases is really important. And I've got a couple of slides here. We'll get into a little bit of nerdy science there. But mostly that is just to say that it is important that during your detox, it's not just about, juicing per se, which can be very healthy and helpful, but there are very specific supplements that I believe, and of course everybody has their opinion, that help that process. And so when our bodies are already compromised, our immune system or our livers are compromised, these are things that we can do to help that along. And some of the things that people don't think about that actually impair our liver's ability to clear toxins is, well, of course, alcohol. Everybody knows alcohol is hard on the liver, but things like Tylenol, ibuprofen is hard on the kidneys. Those are things that people take every day over the counter because they're achy and sick and tired, that they just don't realize how much they're affecting those organs and impairing their ability to clear these toxins. So, we think it's because it's over the counter, it's safe. Another thing we do is we need our stomach acid to digest our food. And so the first thing we do when we start to get reflux is take the purple pill or Nexium or Prevacid or Prilosec. And we actually need more stomach acid. So the first thing I do when people are sick or sick and tired is to ask about their digestion, how regular it is. And if they have any degree of reflux, we have to address that first and start getting them adequate levels of hydrochloric acid.
Oh, wow, that's opposite of what we're told. I've got a question for you. What about we're talking about detoxification and all of its magic. What about people who are chronically constipated? We know that that's a huge part of it, elimination, and I know a lot of people deal with chronic constipation.
Yeah, and that's one thing that you have to deal with, especially in detox, because if you're going to pull those toxins out of the liver, the way the body gets rid of that is through the digestive tract, through the colon, and out of the system. So you have to get things moving. So it's really important that people address that. And one of the best ways to treat constipation is magnesium. We are a terribly magnesium deficient culture. Our food supply is very deficient in magnesium. We're supposed to turn our crops over every 7 years, and we just don't. Insulin resistance. Insulin is a sugar storage hormone, but it also stores magnesium. So if you have any degree of obesity or insulin resistance, you probably don't have enough magnesium anyway. I usually tell people to get, and magnesium is great for blood pressure. It's great for migraine headaches. So I usually tell people just to get like a 250 milligram magnesium. And magnesium is one of the ones that you can actually get pretty cheap. I like magnesium or chelated magnesium. And I tell people to increase the quantity of their magnesium until they're having 2 bowel movements a day. And I have some people who starting out have to take literally 5 to 10 capsules or tablets of magnesium twice a day to get that regular. So, and then they can start backing off once they start increasing their fiber and get detoxed. But sometimes it can take a lot of magnesium to get things moving.
That's amazing. Yeah, nice choice of words, but truly moving. It's
moving, literally.
Awesome. What is this slide about? This is pretty cool.
Well, this is just a little bit more of that, of elimination and the toxic exposure, and how, things have to get basically cleared. And we eliminate through the stool, through sweat, through the urine. And if it goes to the liver, of course, it gets cleared through the colon. So we have many different pathways which we clear that stuff out. So that was a very timely slide. You asked about constipation. You have to keep that stuff moving through. If you're going to move that toxin into the colon, you don't want it to sit there. And I think that's one of the reasons that we're seeing an increase in colon cancer, constipation and toxins. The longer that food sits in there, that toxic food, the longer it is irritating to that colon lining, and more toxins are just getting reabsorbed into the system.
Yes, it's frankly, when you really think about it, it's nasty, and it doesn't have to be that way. And one of the things that motivated me is when I read a study about how many people have like parasites within their intestines, and it's like I didn't want that. I thought it was nasty, and that's when I started really getting clear about ways to, like black walnut, taking supplements to clear that out, and then it's obviously grown to where it is today. But a lot of people don't realize that the majority of Americans have parasites.
Oh yeah, I mean, you think about, you just think about fruit flies. Where do fruit flies come from? You know, you look at your fruit on the counter and all of a sudden there's fruit flies there. I mean, parasites are the same way. People are like, well, where do the parasites come from? And it comes in, you know, you can't see it with the naked eye, but you know, it's in our fruits, it's in our vegetables. I'm not trying to scare people from eating fruits and vegetables, but you know, it's in our meat, it's everywhere, and it's in poor handling. It's, you know, it's just everywhere. And the more you eat out, just another argument for cooking at home, the more you eat out, the more likely you are to have parasites, because it's just, you know, hygiene's just, not to be gross, but you know, it's just not the best. And you know, Burger King and things like that, you know.
It's nasty. I met a woman who owned 14 Burger Kings, and we sat down. We were talking about a business project, and she says, "I own 14 Burger Kings. I wouldn't feed my kids out of our Burger Kings." That was fascinating. You know, and I know there's a lot of stuff like Sean Croxton has done the depression sessions, and a lot of people are starting to realize like the gut brain and the direct link between depression and the gut biome. I know, Dr. Tammy, you guys are doing a lot of work in that area. It's like people who like on antidepressants, you're fixing the gut, and they're going off antidepressants. That's amazing.
80% of your serotonin, dopamine, those brain hormones, your happy hormones, are made in the intestines. So if your intestines not healthy, you're not healthy. 80% of your immune system is in your intestinal tract. I mean, if that's not working, your immune system's not working. So you got to heal the gut. Like you said, let food be thy medicine, and have a healthy gut. That is so, so important.
No, it's amazing. It's that's why we're starting this particular program with detoxification. And I know at the end of this, we will have, I know that you and your team have created some different supplements, some detoxification supplements that people can go right to you, and they can order. They can go to troyoldscoaching.com, and we'll have a link there where they can actually buy these things directly from you. You can just fill out an application, and somebody from Dr. Tammy's team will reach out to you.
Yeah, you know, that's a really hard thing, is who do you trust? And so, you know, over my really last probably 10 years of getting into functional medicine has just been, you know, that nerdy part of working with chiropractors and the people the functional medicine, the naturopaths, and finding out this nerdy science behind this stuff, but more importantly, anecdotally, what actually works with patients. What have I actually seen that when you take this, you get this result consistently? And so that's something that, you know, when I see these poor people at Walmart in the vitamin aisle or the supplement aisle trying to make their decisions, they don't have a clue, and they don't have, you know, they don't have that mentorship and that coaching, and it should be all individualized. But you know, and I say the blood testing is very important. Nutritional testing is very important. If you don't have that roadmap, you don't know what your body's doing. Sometimes you can just be wasting your money on taking expensive supplements and things like that. So it's really important to have that mentorship, that coaching, someone working with you that knows what they're doing and getting the right stuff.
Absolutely.
So you've got kind of just some slides here. And again, you know, these are just kind of showing the different phases through the kidney and elimination and things like that. Again, just a little bit more of the nerdy science that I love getting into. But understanding these are critically important for the people that you trust to come up with the supplements that help you with these processes. And you don't have to have, you know, a nutraceutical science degree to understand these things, but you really just have to have some discernment on who you're going to trust to get you the right supplements that are going to help these phases or these organs work in these phases optimally, so that you get the best bang for your buck, and that you get the best optimization as well.
That's it's good coaching, and like you said, it's good coaching, and a lot of it. It's finding that the good information, people who care about you and are going to give you the good information without constantly, you know, without the motive of making a huge profit. You know, granted, everybody's got to earn a living, but this information needs to be out there at least as prolific as the disinformation, the bad information, is my opinion. And that's why I like doing things like what we're doing tonight. This interview is piquing some people's interest to go do the research. Understand that, just like we were talking about bioidentical testosterone, and I had somebody come back and say, man, it causes heart disease. I took that to my doctor, and he says, Troy, that was a partial study, or they took out a piece of the study. He says, it goes on to say it has nothing to do with that. And same thing with prostate cancer. They say, man, people are going to get prostate cancer if they're on testosterone. And like in the video that we created, why is it that men in their 20s and 30s don't get prostate cancer when their testosterone levels are the highest? That's the problem. It's disinformation.
Yeah, it's so rampant. Oh, I could tell a million stories, about all that kind of stuff. And I do a whole seminar just on, hormones and all the myths out there about things. But yeah, it's crazy, crazy, crazy.
Yeah.
So this slide, is, I don't know how much you work with folks on their acid-alkaline balance, but I find that that's very important. There is a blood test that, we do a lot of blood testing that a lot of traditional doctors don't. Just a basic profile that almost every doctor runs on you just when you go for a physical. So you might actually have this information available to you right now. And I usually check CO2 levels, and you can tell what a person's alkalinity or acidity of their blood is just based on a test. You can also get some pH strips from the health food store, and you can check the alkalinity or the acidity of your urine. I wouldn't recommend checking blood because you have to stick yourself to do that, but of the urine, and that's a nice, easy way to do that. And really what we want to do is shift people towards the more alkaline, and the way you do that is, of course, as you know, green leafy vegetables, cruciferous vegetables keep you more alkaline, and avoiding things that make you more acidic. So getting that baseline is really important, and helping people get more alkaline during the detox process is very important as well.
Oh, that's huge. I think that's some of the things that, like you're talking about pH, it's hard for, or nearly impossible for cancers to grow in a pH, highly pH, or normalized rather. You don't want to be too high pH environment, and an oxygenated environment. And so many people are putting, dead foods into their body. And when you have chlorophyll in green foods, that's actually oxygenating and assisting with that. Like chlorophyll will help with your pH levels. The green foods, the green leafies, and avoiding the proteins. So now this is super geeky, man. Now this is like,
I love it. I love this stuff. I could go crazy on this stuff, but I won't. But I just like to show this, that what we call phytonutrients or nutraceuticals, medical foods or medical grade foods or medical grade nutraceuticals are very important, and they're very different from the stuff that you can just go to Walmart and buy. And this is not a sales pitch by any means, and these things are available. There are lots of reputable websites that sell these products. We use a company called Metagenics. They've done a ton of research, and in fact this slide is from one of their presentations. And you really just have to pick your companies very carefully. In fact, and I could talk a whole hour just on methylfolate and methylation issues and things like that, which are also important to detoxification. But it's kind of funny because whenever I look at a medical foods company or a nutraceutical company, the first thing I do is look to see if they use folic acid. Folic acid is not the same thing as folate or the B9 vitamin. And, if they're using folic acid, they haven't done their research. So that's kind of my quick and dirty test. And it's kind of interesting because Metagenics is one of the companies that is phasing out all of their folic acid use. And so, the general person in the population doesn't know about methylation and the problems with folic acid. So when you look at what supplements and what nutraceuticals you're going to use, it's very important to do your research. And again, this is not a big sales pitch to get our supplements or anything like that, because you can do the research. But I think it is important, as a sales pitch, to say that it is important to work with people who know what they're doing and are giving you the right stuff that your body's going to respond to, so that you're not wasting your time, energy, or money. And getting quality, unfortunately, you have to pay more for that, and your insurance isn't going to pay for these nutraceuticals. Your insurance is going to pay for the coaching that you and I, Troy, provide, and our colleagues. And so at some point, I think people just have to invest in the quality and understanding that there are people who are doing this geeky science, and learning to find those people who are authentic and real that they can trust.
Thank God. No, I completely agree with you. It's, you know, when a person really sits down, and if we do any type of food tracking, what they put into their body on a daily basis, and you were able to break that, and we are able to break that down from a nutritional density, how much nutritional content is in the foods they eat on a daily basis, and we really show them what's happening, it's mind-blowing. People start to change when they start to see it, like you've got here on this slide. Because a lot of people just don't know. They just, you know, they've gotten into a habit and in a rut of eating a certain way. And I'm like you. I don't want to change people's. I want them to do this for the long haul. So we say, don't take anything away. Let's just add a big, beautiful salad into your refrigerator, and then you at least have that option. You might still go for the bagel, but at least you've got the option to go to get something that's waterborne food, so it's going to actually possibly even put water back into your body, versus a bagel or a potato chip, which sucks water out of your digestive tract, which slows things down. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
Okay, we got, what is this slide?
This is basically just talking about the different nutraceuticals and supplements that support the phase 1 and the phase 2, and the different sources that you can get things like the pomegranate. I love green tea. It's great for the metabolism. Green tea is also nice for, you know, if you're feeling kind of hungry, just have a cup of green tea, and it seems to just kind of soothe you as well. And then for some of the other detoxification pathways, addressing sulfation, acetylation, and methylation. Methylation is what I mentioned with folate, B9 vitamin. And one of the first things that I tell people is check on your supplement bottles. And if you have anything that has folic acid in it, get rid of it. Because if you have the genetic MTHFR gene, you can't metabolize folic acid. And it's not a rare mutation at all. In fact, about 80% of the Caucasian population has it.
Oh my God.
So methylation is very important for clearing toxins and for clearing unhealthy hormone levels. So especially with men who have unhealthy estrogen levels or women who have unhealthy estrogen levels, methylation is very important. So not only for the support of the liver, but the liver also clears unhealthy levels of dysregulated hormones. So that's very important. And then antioxidants as well. I love vitamin C. I love to hear that you love vitamin C too. That's so important. And then, you know, your vitamin A's, your amino acids like N-acetylcysteine, all those are very good for liver support as well.
No, I love it. Yeah, that's vitamin C, I think, is one of the getting a quality. Like I get a buffered vitamin C with magnesium and calcium, and literally will do 9, 10, even 12,000 or more milligrams per day. I space that out, and it's like if I feel bomb-proof with it. It's like the most inexpensive antioxidant that does amazing things for my cells, my skin, and just makes me feel like I'm safe.
Oh yeah, we even get a little kooky in our clinic. We do vitamin C IV therapy. So yeah, that's cool. We love that.
See, now you're talking crazy. Now you're talking about stuff.
I'm really out the box.
This broadcast is gonna go dark, man, and
don't tell anybody. We do chelation. Oh my gosh.
But a lot of people don't even know what chelation is. A lot of people don't even realize that these are modalities. People are actually getting intravenous high levels of vitamin C, and they don't know why. You know what it's doing, and I think that's the cool thing about it, is people need to be aware of what's available to them.
Yeah, so many things. So this slide is just kind of reviewing some of those issues, like your friend you said that's struggling on the detox. You might have some headaches or muscle aches, common complaints, you know, and just kind of going slow. Magnesium is wonderful for the headaches or muscle aches, and people just don't get enough magnesium. You got to have magnesium for the constipation as well, so getting those adequate levels. Encouraging them to eat as much of allowed foods, because again, this is not about deprivation. This is getting the nutrient dense minerals and nutrients that they need from, you know, eating clean foods, organic foods, your nutrient dense vegetables. and fiber supplements and drinking plenty of water. That's a really big deal. You know that the average is about 64 ounces a day. So whatever you need to do, if you need to get a big jug and mark on it or whatever you need to do to make sure that you're getting plenty of water, it's really important because you need to be able to flush those kidneys, flush the stool out, keep well hydrated, very important.
Keep it rolling. So you do recommend like a fiber supplement, like a psyllium husk or something like that?
It's really hard to get enough fiber in the diet. Usually 25 to 30 grams is recommended, and that's almost impossible to get through foods. Plus, if people are really gassy because they don't have enough digestive enzymes, sometimes they have to take additional enzymes, which, you know, we can support them as well in the detox with that. Beans are usually a big fiber source, but you know, you can get a little gassy with that. Psyllium fiber can be a little gassy producing as well. So I usually recommend, if you're going to get a fiber supplement, to go with a clear fiber like Benefiber. Or glucomannan is a great fiber, and doesn't cause a lot of that gas and bloating. Because if people are gassy and bloated, they're like, why am I doing this detox? I'm just gassy and bloated. So you have to really educate them on that.
No, that's good information. And that's one of the things that, you know, being super hydrated, not eating as much, because we don't eat a lot of breads at all. I'm not that I'm completely away from it, but when we stopped eating the breads, the wheats, as many dry foods, potato chips, the snacks that we're so accustomed to eating, it's amazing how things start flowing. You're just regular because you're putting in, we do a lot of salads, a lot of waterborne foods, such as vegetables, and it's, you know, it's higher in fiber. You're getting the water in your digestive tract, and things just flow well. Leaky gut, that's a big thing. People are talking about that a lot now. What is it?
This is sort of the pivot point of everything that I do, because of course, if the gut is not healthy, even if you eat healthy, let food be thy medicine, even if you eat from the Garden of Eden, if your gut is not healthy, you can't absorb the nutrients adequately. So we spend a lot of time really educating people about leaky gut and how to heal leaky gut, so that, especially during the detox, their body can receive the nutrients that they need to help those phase 1, phase 2, and kidney clearance, as far as like detoxification goes. But what happens in leaky gut, and if you'll fast forward one more slide here for me, I'll show you my little kind of rudimentary drawing that I did. This is my art. And what you'll see there is, as food goes down into the small intestines, if you looked at the intestines under a microscope, it's one cell layer thick, the small intestines, which is good and bad. It's good because it's easily repaired, but it's bad because it's easily disrupted. And so what you see there is the little green and blue dots are the bacteria and the yeast that normally break down our food for us into the vitamins and nutrients. So the bacteria are essential. So a good probiotic is very important, especially during your detox, but I think just on a daily basis. And to keep that balance. And then if you eat too much sugar, of course, the yeast overgrows and the bacteria go away, and then you can't break your B12 and your vitamins down. And B12 is essential for weight loss and for metabolic issues. So then you have these little these little red dots there hold they're like adhesion molecules that hold that cellular layer together. And the red line is the bloodstream. And if you'll go forward one more screen there, what happens is medications, hormone imbalance, pesticides, chemicals, artificial sweeteners are huge that disrupt this protective lining. And now literally food can fall into the bloodstream and trigger an immune response. And when that happens, now we develop food sensitivities. So food sensitivities have just become rampant. And when you develop food sensitivities and you trigger inflammation and immune response, the next thing that happens is we develop autoimmune disease. And so, you know, how many people in this country are walking around with autoimmune thyroid, autoimmune arthritis, autoimmune female problems like polycystic ovarian syndrome, hormone imbalance. And so the disruption all starts in the gut. So you really have to go back and repair the GI tract. And there's lots of ways to do that, by probiotics, using amino acids that work like spackling. You ever spackled your wall if you had a hole in your wall? So we spackle the gut with certain amino acids. and anti-inflammatories like aloe vera and different diglyceride licorice, things like that, that repair the gut lining so that you're less likely to respond to food sensitivities. And I think food sensitivity testing is very important, especially in our, what I would call our sick population, that come in with lots of autoimmune disease, and they're just, 100 pounds overweight, very toxic. Because if you don't clear, their food sensitivities during the detox, they'll continue to eat foods that are just going to continue to trigger inflammation. And so that testing is a real integral part of what we do. And if you'll go forward one more slide, there's an example of a food sensitivity test. And literally, this is a blood test that identifies the foods that trigger inflammation, should you have leaky gut and should it hit the bloodstream. So the first thing on the list for this person in red is asparagus. And you might eat asparagus on your detox thinking that's completely healthy. But in this person, it's triggering a class 1 response. And it's kind of like diesel fuel and unleaded fuel. If you put diesel fuel in an unleaded tank, your car's not going to go very far. But that doesn't mean that it's bad fuel. It just means it's not the right fuel for you. And of course, gluten and wheat and dairy are all on this list as well. And so what happens sometimes is people will give up gluten and they'll say, you know what, I gave up gluten and I didn't feel any better. Well, maybe they've got a class 3 dairy response and they're drinking a ton of milk, or they're, instead of wheat, they're eating corn, and maybe they've got a sensitivity to corn. And so of course they're not going to feel better because they're substituting a lot more with other trigger foods for them. So this can be a real important test, especially in what I call the sick population. And if you've got a lot of gastrointestinal IBS, Crohn's disease, this is an essential test to do, because if your digestive tract is messed up, everything else is going to be messed up too.
Wow, this is powerful. I mean, this poor person, they're having black pepper, pineapple, pork, oats, milk, lettuce. These are all class 1s that this person should not be eating, right?
Yeah, at least during the detox. And then we reintroduce these foods back in once we heal the leaky gut. So there is good news. You can reintroduce these foods, but this can be really helpful. I learned this test from a chiropractor who used it for chronic pain and fibromyalgia. And it was amazing. I had a woman one time who literally came in on a cane, absolutely miserable, falling apart from autoimmune arthritis, fibromyalgia. We did this test, and 3 months later, she came back in, literally skipping into the office. And it was an amazing transformation. And she was upset because someone had done that test on her like 5 years prior, and she thought it was, hokey, and she didn't listen to it. So she had suffered for literally 5 years needlessly. So I use the crap out of this test. I think it's amazing. And, what I found was these are the foods that cause inflammation. And so literally they're the foods that can make you fat. So I use it exclusively in our weight loss programs. Again, weight loss is a side effect of wellness, but a lot of times just to get people in the door, sometimes you have to dangle the carrot of weight loss. And so I don't really even calorie count. Of course, you can't eat 10,000 calories a day and lose weight. But what I do is clean up their gut and remove their food sensitivities, and it gets amazing results.
That's awesome. And I love this information, because everyone's trying to burn fat, go to the gym. They're on a spinning bike, running from a bear. Your body feels like you're running from a bear, fight or flight. Eventually that's going to burn out. And they're really hurting themselves. And I think that's the most important thing of this particular conversation, is that it starts in the gut. It starts in the gut. Detoxify and heal the gut. And food sensitivity tests we're really big into labs as well, getting your lab work done so we can see this. And of all the labs to start with a food sensitivity lab. Mm-hmm. And you and I spoke prior to putting this together that if people want to get a food sensitivity test and work, talk directly with you and walk through this process and get this information, they can do that. People can go to troyoldscoaching.com, and right at the very top it says food sensitivity. Just click on that, and Dr. Tammy will get that information. Somebody from her team will reach out to you and get you started with that. So is this something that's like crazy expensive, or is this something that's doable?
It's not cheap, but it is an investment. I truly believe. Sometimes hit or miss, back when we were doing insurance, sometimes we would get insurance to cover the test. The insurance allowable, when it first came out, we were kind of billing it under the radar. The insurance allowable was about $1,200 for the test. But what we usually do is bundle it with some coaching and just do it for a couple $100 because we feel like it's really important information. So, it's definitely affordable. It's not cheap, but neither is your health and your life either. So it is a bit of an investment, but to me, I wouldn't embark on any kind of journey in wellness without having that information. And the minute your body gets stressed or the minute you get exposed to toxins and you develop any degree of leaky gut, those are the foods genetically that your body's going to respond to. Those are your antibody antigen response. So it's really helpful information to know that if your body gets stressed, and what I do with that food sensitivity test is like, I know that I'm not going to tax my body by eating gluten and dairy. I'm sensitive to asparagus and almonds. So I wouldn't eat all those things at one meal just because why would I take the risk of causing that degree of inflammation in my body? But pretty much all the foods on my food sensitivity test I have reintroduced now. So it's a process, but it's a good process.
No, I love it, and I'm grateful for that. I think that that's important. Like when you and I spoke earlier, it's almost like a disservice for someone to put somebody on a program when they want these particular outcomes that are going to be long lasting, and everyone assumes they hire a trainer or that it's going to be long lasting, but they'll skip over some of the most important things because of cost. And the thing that is fascinating, any of us who have aging parents and we see their health declining and the amount of money that they're spending on pharmaceuticals, the amount of pain that they're in, people are living longer, but it is costing them a fortune. And the quality of life is just, it's non-existent. The quality is poor.
Oh, and if you have a high deductible, which most insurance companies make you think that everything's free, most people have a $1,500 or a $5,000 deductible. One trip to the emergency room because you've got reflux and you think it's a heart attack can cost you, $6,000 to $10,000. And so if you can avoid that and just keep yourself healthy, I mean, it's a very proactive approach. And of course, that's, what we're passionate about. But people don't think about that sometimes.
But it's true. It's truly is an investment and challenge. The sad thing about the State of the Union is people are money's lean, man. They're lean and they've got to really allocate it. And so we actually have a gentleman. In fact, you've met my friend Newell Seiler, and he actually is a money guy. He's a big businessman, and his passion now is to help people really pay it forward about how to reallocate their funds. And it's fascinating how they don't earn any more money, but man, they've got $1,200, $2,000 extra dollars a month showing up because they're not going to Starbucks every day. He has people go out and buy an espresso machine at home and make that stuff at home. So they put the investment up front, but after the first year, they're saving money, baby. Money that can go toward things that are meaningful.
Well, and it's kind of like, auto pay on your bills. Yeah, it's a pain to set that up and it takes time. But the time in the future, having that just auto deduct from your account, not have to worry about your gas bill or your electric bill, I mean, it pays for itself very quickly. So proactive health pays for itself very quickly. And people just don't often see that. But we're so conditioned because the pharmaceutical companies, and if this stuff really worked, why wouldn't our doctors be telling us about this? And you get all the excuses and complaints, and and it allows people to keep doing what they do and expect a different result, which is the definition of insanity, by the way.
Right. Well, that's why you said it earlier. It's like, is it trickery? Are we bamboozling folks? My marketing is like strip fat, have better sex, mind-blowing sex. Because here's the key. It'll do that, but I get to get people in the kitchen and have conversations that are meaningful. And again, when people just sit down around the dinner table with their family and eat good food, that's going to be an enhancement of every area of their life. So yes, you can strip that. Yes, you can have mind-blowing sex. And people are so marketed to so constantly. I've got people who will actually say, man, dude, that kind of marketing is just crazy. It's like, it's what works. we get people in here and we start having meaningful conversations like we're having right here. And yeah, and the end product is they can strip fat, help have amazing sex for the long haul. And so, yeah, we start with marketing works, but at least we're giving people information that's meaningful, that's going to actually be a benefit to them, their health in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just told my husband the other day, I said, it's so important to me that I stay healthy and look good. And it's a little bit of it's vanity, but, you know, I said, I want us to have a close, passionate relationship into our 80s. And that's so doable. You know, I showed you the picture of, you know, the lady at the beginning of this presentation who's ripped, and she's, you know, in her 70s. So, I mean, that really is possible. And we've just been so duped and lied to just to think that, oh, honey, you're just getting older. Just deal with it. You know, and when I restore women's sex drives by giving them testosterone and getting them healthy, I mean, they're so appreciative. They've given up on life. I mean, it's like, you might as well just lay down and die, you know, it's sad.
Now you're getting Christmas cards from happy husbands.
Yeah, I do. I get thank you notes sometimes. So these are just some slides just to not leave out other areas of detox. We have to look at the skin. I love infrared saunas, the lymphatic system, and that's a good reason for exercise or for jumping or for moving. You know, and massage is very important as well. So that's another investment that a lot of people don't make in themselves, but it's really important to get that lymph moving around and move those toxins through.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that. I think that's one of the things that we're so programmed to help others, work hard, and self-care, a massage, man. If you're not having a massage a month, man, figure out how to do that. Get a friend. You don't even pay for it. Just trade them a massage. Put on some Enya, get a massage, you know, and it's just one of the greatest gifts people can give themselves. Kimberly laughs at me because I'm a bath guy. I'll kick on some sacred chants of Shiva, you know, put some magnesium in the tub, and I chill the heck out because I know the importance of it.
Very important. Plus the stress relief is great too, but yeah, definitely.
That's right. So the lungs. This is a great slide. I love what you got here to talk to me about it.
Breathing, and our good friend Ross, who does the balancing. That's so important. He changed my life. And I never really realized that when I get stressed or something really scares me or overwhelms me, I literally probably don't breathe for about 3 minutes. You know, if I'm just in that state and it's just like, I don't even think to breathe. And so that's the time you need to breathe the most, when, you know, your cells are, you know, screaming for oxygen, but we just don't do it. And the time to practice that is in a relaxed state, so that you're mindful when you move into those stressful states. And that's the beauty of meditation or yoga or self-hypnotism or Ross's balancing. So you can't, you know, forget that the lungs move toxins out. And it's really interesting, the chemical structure of fat basically is carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and water. And so if you want to remove fat, you have to remove that as those elements. And so breathing CO2 out of the lungs is very important for losing belly fat or for losing toxins. So breathing is so important. And if you're not breathing deep, you're not moving that CO2 as well.
No, it's so awesome that you share that, because breathing is one of the most, it costs you nothing. We all can do it. And literally, I'll be with a client, and you know, I know they would attest to this. It's like, hold on a second, breathe, and I'll stop and I'll go and hold it, and then. And it's amazing how, you know, our bodies respond to that physiology, that even in a stress situation where we start getting that short, shallow breath way up in our chest, that's fight or flight, when you can just pause and take a deep belly breath and release, it changes everything. And Ross, he held an event on the Big Island in Hawaii, and we worked with his mentors, some kahunas, his amazing daughter, who is, she dives. She's working with Bob Ballard right now, and they taught us to breathe at a whole nother level. And it was literally one of those experiences that it blew my mind what was possible, what it did to my mind. But I literally held my breath for 2 minutes and 42 seconds. And that's unheard of. And that was just from, by the 5th day, she had us doing that. And so it's something that doesn't take long to figure out. If some people here, if they want something like a hack, if they want an app, there's an app called Pranayama. It's Pranayama, and you can actually program that to do box breathing, where you inhale for 5 seconds, pause for 5 seconds, exhale for 5 seconds, pause and repeat. And it causes our bodies to calm. It causes our bodies to reduce stress, and it causes us to go from out here, I'm putting my arms way outside myself, to back into our bodies and actually experience our bodies, because we're so outside of ourselves so often. And as you said, it's a great detoxifier of stress and toxins.
Yeah.
Sorry to start grandstand on you there. I'm pretty impressed. You know, pat myself on the back. 2 minutes, 42 seconds.
That's important. You know, my husband Brian's got a prayer bowl. I don't even know where he got it. It's the coolest thing, but you kind of ding the side of it, and it literally causes you to inhale. It's like it causes you to kind of deep breathe. So I think there's all sorts of neat little tools and techniques that you can get, you know, if you need a little help with that. But don't dismiss breathing. It's so important. Deep.
Well, you've got an amazing guy.
The mind, you know, thinking positive. I put in Ross's balancing. I just kind of added that in the slide today because I was thinking about his balancing. But anything else you can do, and sleep is so important. And one of the problems with menopause or andropause, hormonal decline, is that without progesterone, our sleep is compromised. So get help with your hormones if you need it, because you know, going into the detox phase, if you're, you know, exhausted because your hormones, your thyroid or your female or male hormones are out of balance and you're not sleeping, it's going to make a detox process really difficult. So what we do in our program is we get their hormones balanced for the first month, and then we do a detox 4 weeks in. So we make sure they're ready, that they've been weaning off things slowly. But, and again, we don't try to make the detox daunting, but we do want to present it as a phase in their life that they're really choosing to make different choices, choosing a different way of life that's sustainable, but yet not making things too crazy where they can't enjoy a little birthday cake or potato salad or macaroni salad if they, you know, want to on occasion. So it's a journey for sure.
Truly. Well, I love the way you put this slide together, is choose what you put into your mind. And, you know, choosing wisely, turn the radio off, turn off the news, choose some amazing audiobooks to listen to and educate yourself. You know, Grain Brain is on audiobook, Wheat Belly's on audiobook. You know, there's amazing things you can put into your mind. And I think that's one of the greatest detoxes too, is just get the negative out of your mind.
Yeah.
So what's next?
I know I'm a talker, and I probably went way over tonight, and I so appreciate your patience with me. I just have so much, I'm so passionate about this. I have so much information, but this is sort of just a little summary slide. So of course, you know, I think the food sensitivity testing is very important. Great information. Get your hormones evaluated. And, you know, I used to be on the fence about if you had your gut healed up and your adrenal glands were healthy, did you need hormone supplementation? And, you know, the gurus out in California, I've got some colleagues and friends who kind of put it to me one day. They said, you know, Tammy, do you want the hormones of a 50-year-old like you almost are, or do you want the hormones of a 20-year-old? And I thought, you know what, eating healthy and doing all the right things is still only probably going to get me the hormones of a 50-year-old because my ovaries have ran out of eggs. So hormone supplementation or bioidentical hormone therapy, I think, is really important, and important that you find the right practitioner who knows what they're doing with that. And avoiding those toxins. Artificial sweeteners are, I cannot say enough, they cause leaky gut. I've had patients lose 15 pounds in 2 weeks just going off artificial sweeteners. They cannot believe it. So it's, you know, one of the biggest toxins that presents to us is, you know, those little pink and blue packets, and we think they're, you know, they're helping us and they're killing us. So avoid those toxins. Choose organic when possible. Tell people to limit carbs to 100 grams a day. I love those programs, the Fitbits and the MyFitnessPal. I think it's really worth your time to calculate those processes for a couple weeks, because people just don't realize what they're putting in their bodies sometimes. So a good count's good, fiber's good. Make sure you get good nutraceuticals for your detox, and of course drink plenty of water.
Water, again, free. That's
Free.
It's amazing. Oh, something about artificial sweeteners. I've got a friend who he was drinking Diet Pepsi on a daily basis, chewing like Trident gum, and he's a bodybuilder, and so his protein powder had aspartame in it. So all these products had aspartame. He started to notice that he was feeling nauseous. Literally one day, and now he grew up in this town, so 30 years in his hometown, he had to pull over to the side of the road and call his girlfriend and say, "I don't know where I am." And he had aspartame poisoning to just ridiculous degrees, and he's healed, but he's not like he was.
Yeah. It's very neurotoxic and very GI toxic. It's amazing. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you so much. Do we have another slide here that hormones, missing pieces?
I've always probably got another slide. and basically this is kind of the representation. We call it the 5 pillars. And the reason that people get frustrated is because they usually only take on one of these pieces. You know, maybe you just go join Jenny Craig and you're doing the nutrition component, or you go join a gym and you think, I'm going to get healthy for the new year, and you're just doing one piece. So if you're not addressing these other pieces, it's not going to get you the best bang for your buck, but it's not going to be sustainable either. And so that's what people are really looking for. And, you know, if you can't make things sustainable for people, they're not going to be happy in the long run, and they're not going to stick with it. You know, people go run out and they have these gastric bypass surgeries and they lose 100 pounds and that quick fix, but then they gain the weight back because they haven't changed the underlying behavior. So it really is, you know, changing the behaviors, micro habits, making things easy for people, eating an elephant one bite at a time, but putting these pieces together is so essential.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's and like you got here, it's putting it all together. And detoxification is, you know, a great place to start. And you've given us some fabulous information, Dr. Tammy. How many more of these do we have? This is it.
Yep, I think that's it.
Now, here's the thing, though. Google Hangouts will give us 8 hours, and so we're not even 2 hours in, so we can keep going.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I totally could. We could do another 2 hours on hormones, another 2 hours on methylation and folic acid, and you know, it's all amazing stuff. But you know, I think people kind of hit brain overload at some point too, so we don't want to overwhelm our folks. But we definitely want to start a dialogue with them that there is another way, a different way, a very concrete way. This is backed by science. I don't do anything that I can't back up and that doesn't make total sense and have true, real science behind it either. And so I think that's really important when you're choosing the people that you trust, because you'll hear things. You'll hear Dr. Oz say one day, and the next day you hear this and you hear that, or you hear this causes cancer. So just do your homework, and don't be afraid to research and ask questions. And patients still ask me questions that I don't know the answers to. I am not the end-all be-all. You know, I don't claim to be the master, but I do, through my own journey and some of my family's illnesses and things, looked for a different way, and there definitely is a different way, and it's so rewarding when you can help people find that path. And their own path. Like we said, it's not the same path for everyone. So, you know, really just embarking on that journey, but knowing that you're not alone either is really important. So I'm glad, Troy, that you're out there and you're helping people. And, you know, our good friend Ross is helping people in such a significant way. It's all really good stuff.
Well, thank you. I think that's why we connected so well, is, you know, just like you're doing the field trips to the grocery store and to the local growers and the potlucks. It's about a community, you know. We do become who we hang around, and it matters so much. And so by creating these communities where we can all get together, hang out, and have this conversation, I truly believe it's going to be that grassroots movement, and it'll be everywhere, because we're not going to stop, you know. And what happens is, it's so fascinating that when you've and you've seen it over and over and over again. I've seen it over and over again. When you help somebody feel better, when they have more vibrancy, when they sleep better, and it's amazing how it's a complete game changer for folks. And when the lights come on for people, when I see that, it's exciting to me. It makes me want to do more. And so like creating this content, I think is just a huge benefit. Where can people find you? Are you on Facebook?
I am on Facebook. I have a page, Dr. Tammy. I am also under Tammy Hale Post, P-O-S-T. And my website is drtammypost.com.
Awesome. Because I know that we've got men and women, but I know that a lot of women are going to resonate with what you're doing. And we've got a lot of women who know that they're dealing with the same issues that you've dealt with, and they see you and they hear how you're living and the lifestyle that you've got now, and they're going to want to know how you did it. So I appreciate you so much for coming on. And again, anyone who wants to work with Dr. Tammy on food sensitivity, she's put together a great package for you, and you can discuss with her the detox protocols that she and her team use to walk people through the detox process. She can connect you with those supplements, and you can find that on troyoldscoaching.com. Right at the top, and you just click on the food sensitivity. There's a short application, and then if you want full-on coaching, click on the Get Coaching link, and you fill out an application. It'll be reviewed, and someone will get back with you. At the very least, you're going to get some very fantastic information and get put on the right track with all the great resources. And the last thing, this is a lot of information, but for folks who are not part of the coaching program, if you can avoid the information ADD that I sometimes have when I create a site, you can also go to tragictomagic.com/program. That's tragictomagic.com/program. And you've got a lot of homework there and a lot of resources. It'll be a big help for you. So thanks so much, everyone, for taking the time out. I know it's great information for you. And Dr. Tammy, I'm high-fiving Brian. Thank you, Brian, for allowing me to have Dr. Tammy for the last 2 hours. It was awesome. And I hope you come back, Dr. Tammy. I've got a lot more topics to discuss.
I'd love to. Thank you, Troy. It was a great evening.
Well, you have a wonderful night. I will have this link posted up. I'll share this with you so you can share it with anyone you want to share it with. And everyone have a fabulous evening. Be well.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.